never before used, and certainly he will come. Thus, by the power of our mantra, we shall cast him into the fire because he is your enemy. That's terrible. the purport by Srila Prabhupada. By chanting the Vedic mantras properly in a sacrifice, one can perform many wonderful things. In Kali Yuga, however, there are no qualified brahmanas who can chant the mantras properly. Consequently, no attempt should be made to perform such big sacrifices. In this age, the only sacrifice recommended is the, guess what? Sankirtan movement. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Text 29. My dear Vidura, after giving the king this advice, the priests who had been engaged in performing the sacrifice called for Indra, the king of heaven, in a mood of great anger. When they were just ready to put the oblation in the fire, in Indra, Lord Brahma appeared on the scene and forbade them to start the sacrifice. Text 30. Lord Brahma addressed them thus: My dear sacrificial performers, you cannot kill Indra, the king of heaven. It is not your duty. You should know that Indra is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, he is one of the most powerful assistants of the Personality of Godhead. You are trying to satisfy all the demigods by performance of this yajna, but you should know that all these demigods are but parts and parcels of Indra, the king of heaven. How then can you kill him in this great sacrifice? Wow. In order to make trouble and impede the performance of King Prithu's great sacrifice, King Indra has adopted some means that in the future will destroy the clear path of religious life. I draw your attention to this fact. If you oppose him any further, he will further misuse his power and introduce many other irreligious systems. Wow. Okay. Let there be only 99 sacrificial performances for Maharaj Prithu. Lord Brahma concluded. Lord Brahma then turned towards Maharaj Prithu and informed him that since he was thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what was the use in performing more sacrifices? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma came down to pacify King Prithu regarding his continual performance of 100 sacrifices. King Prithu was determined to perform 100 sacrifices, and King Indra took this very seriously because Indra himself was known as the performer of 100 sacrifices. Just as it is the nature of all living entities within this material world to become envious of their competitors, King Indra, although king of heaven, was also envious of King Prithu, and therefore wanted to stop him from performing 100 sacrifices. Actually, there was great competition, and King Indra, to satisfy his senses, began to invent so many irreligious systems to obstruct King Prithu. To stop these irreligious inventions, Lord Brahma personally appeared in the sacrificial arena. As far as Maharaj Pritha was concerned, he was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not necessary for him to perform the prescribed Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Well, that should be a message to us also, that the only ceremony or the only yagya that can be performed, let's say, properly in the age of Kali Yuga is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We don't have to do all these other complicated sacrifices, animal sacrifices, etc. I mean, in the Vaishnava, let's say, tradition, there's no animal sacrifices. Anyway, the only right reason there was animal sacrifices in the past was to test whether the mantras had been said correctly. Therefore, they would kill an animal and then they'd have to bring it back alive again to prove that their mantras were potent. But in Kali Yuga, it doesn't happen like that. So therefore, all these type of animal sacrifices are forbidden in Kali Yuga. But yet, people still do them, unfortunately. As far as Maharaj Pritha was concerned, he was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not necessary for him to perform the prescribed Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Such ceremonies are known as karma, and there is no need for a devotee in the transcendental position to execute them. As the ideal king, however, it was King Prithu's duty to perform sacrifices. A compromise was therefore to be worked out. By the blessings of Lord Brahma, King Prithu would become more famous than King Indra. Thus, Prithu's determination to perform 100 sacrifices was indirectly fulfilled by the blessings of Lord Brahma. Well, let's see what that blessing is. One second. Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you. For you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you should not be angry with King Indra, who is non-different from you. My dear king, text 34, my dear king, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifices have not been properly executed due to providential impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. Hey, that's very good advice. There are some things that we can't actually correctly do. So we shouldn't keep trying to do it. Let's see what it says here. Sometimes the saintly or very religious person will also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential. Providential means it's something that Krishna wants, and therefore we can't go against it. We have to accept it as Krishna's desire. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, In other words, such situations that are failing, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. We should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. Okay, well, in the process of devotional service, sometimes there's things that we are not able to do. However, we should tolerate the fact that we're not able to do those things, but continue with our regulated program of chanting and dancing and taking prasadam and not be disturbed. We should tolerate things instead of being agitated. That is good advice. That should be considered the gold standard for devotees. We should tolerate things instead of being agitated. Text 35. Lord Brahma continued, stop the performance of these sacrifices, for they have induced Indra to introduce so many irreligious aspects. Okay, so Brahma is telling his devotees, look, stop the performance of these sacrifices. Because Indra has introduced many irreligious aspects. You should know very well that even amongst the demigods, there are many unwanted desires. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There are many competitors in ordinary business affairs, and the karma kanda chapters of the Vedas sometimes cause competition and envy amongst karmis. A karmi must be envious because he wishes to enjoy material pleasures to their fullest. That is the material disease. Wow, very interesting statement. That is the material disease. Yeah, we cannot be successful always in sense gratification. It's not going to happen. This is the material. A karmi must be envious because he wishes to enjoy material pleasures in their fullest extent. That is the material disease. Consequently, there is always competition amongst karmis, either in ordinary business affairs or in the performance of yajna. Lord Brahma's purpose was to end the competition between Lord Indra and Maharaj Prithu. Because Maharaj Prithu was a great devotee and incarnation of God, he was requested to stop the sacrifices so that Indra might not further introduce irreligious systems, which are always followed by criminal-minded people. Oh my God. Very, very profound statement. Just see how Indra, the king of heaven, was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial horse. These attractive, sinful activities he has introduced will be carried out by the people in general. Follow the leader. But if the leader is corrupt, you become corrupt also. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, yad yad acharati shastas, tad tad, tad tad, tad tad evataro jana, sayat pramanam kurute, lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. For his own sense gratification, King Indra thought to defeat Maharaj Prithu in the performance of 100 horse sacrifices. Consequently, he stole the horse and hid himself amid so many irreligious personalities, taking on the false guise of a sannyasi. Such activities are attractive to the people in general. Therefore, they are dangerous. Lord Brahma thought that instead of allowing Indra to further introduce such irreligious systems, it would be better to stop the sacrifice. A similar stance was taken by Lord Buddha when people were overly engrossed in the animal sacrifices recommended by Vedic instructions. Lord Buddha had to introduce the religion of nonviolence by contradicting the Vedic sacrificial instructions. Actually, in the sacrifices, the slaughtered animals were given a new life, but people without such powers were taking advantage of such Vedic rituals and unnecessarily killing poor animals. Therefore, Lord Buddha had to deny the authority of the Vedas for the time being. One should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. Very, very profound statement. One should not perform sacrifices that will induce reversed orders. It is better to stop such sacrifices. As we have repeatedly explained, due to a lack of qualified Brahminical priests in Kali Yuga, it is not possible to perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. Consequently, the Shastras instruct us to perform the Sankirtana Yajna. By the Sankirtana sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of Lord Chaitanya, will be satisfied and worshipped. You see, that's why even the Christians will perform animal sacrifices that are actually forbidden in Kali Yuga. Yeah, they'll make a barbecue and they'll sacrifice an animal and they'll eat it. And for the turkey festival.
Thanksgiving.
Huh?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. They'll kill 60 million turkeys and eat them. That's what the Christians do, but then the Muslims also do. So all these types of sacrifices in Kali Yuga are forbidden. And they're very sinful. But people think it's the right thing to do. So it says here, by the Sankirtana sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form of Lord Chaitanya will be satisfied and worshipped. The entire purpose of performing sacrifices is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna is present in his form of Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, people who are intelligent should try to satisfy him, meaning Lord Chaitanya, by performing Sankirtan Yajna. This is the easiest way to satisfy Lord Vishnu in performing Sankirtan Yajna. This is the easiest way to satisfy Lord Vishnu in this age. People should take advantage of the injunctions in different shastras concerning sacrifices in this age and not create unnecessary disturbances during the sinful age of Kali. In Kali Yuga, men all over the world are very expert in opening slaughterhouses for killing animals, which they eat. If the old ritualistic ceremonies were observed, people would be encouraged to kill more and more animals. In Calcutta, there are many butcher shops which keep a deity of the goddess Kali, and animal eaters think it proper to purchase animal flesh from such shops in hope that they're eating the remnants of food offered to goddess Kali. They do not know that goddess Kali never accepts non-vegetarian food because she is the chaste wife of Lord Shiva. Wow. This should be taught to the Hindus in India. Lord Shiva is also a great Vaishnava and never eats non-vegetarian food. And the goddess Kali accepts the remnants of food left by Lord Shiva. Therefore, there is no possibility of her eating flesh or fish. Such offerings are accepted by the associates of Goddess Kali, known as Bhutas, Pisachas, and Rakshasas. And those who take the prasada of Goddess Kali in the shape of flesh or fish are not actually taking prasada left by Goddess Kali, but the food left by the Bhutas and Pisachas. So Bhutas are ghosts, and Pisachas are like demons. Text 37. Yeah, well, during the festival of Lord Kali in India, thousands and thousands of animals are slaughtered. There's blood in the streets of Calcutta, celebrating Kali Mata's festival. Mm. Even today, it's like that. Okay. Text 37. O King Prithu, son of Venu, you are the part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Due to the mischievous activities of King Venu, religious principles were almost lost. At that opportune moment, you descended as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Indeed, for the protection of religious principles, you have appeared from the body of King Venu. Yeah, so Prithu was churned from the dead body of King Venu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The way in which Lord Vishnu kills the demons and protects the faithful is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 8th verse. Paritranaya sadhanam vinasaya chadushkritam dharma samsthapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself. In other words, I appear as an incarnation, Krishna is saying, millennium after millennium. In two hands, Lord Vishnu always carries a club and a chakra to kill demons. And in his other two hands, he holds the conch shell and a lotus flower to give protection to his devotees. When his incarnation is present on this planet or in this universe, the Lord kills the demons and protects his devotees simultaneously. Sometimes Lord Vishnu appears in his person as Lord Krishna or Lord Rama. All of these appearances are mentioned in the Shastras. Sometimes it appears as a Shakti, sometimes he appears as a Shaktavasha avatara, like Lord Buddha. As explained, therefore, these Shaktavasha avatars are incarnations of Vishnu's power invested in a living entity. Living entities are also part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, but they are not as powerful, therefore, when a living entity descends as an incarnation of Vishnu. He is a special, let me read that again. Living entities are also part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, but they are not as powerful. Therefore, they're not as powerful. Therefore, when a living entity descends as an incarnation of Vishnu, he is especially empowered by the Lord. When King Prithu is described as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, it should be understood that he is a Shaktavasha Avatara. That means an ordinary person who has become endowed with one or two or other transcendental qualities. When King Prithu is described as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, it should be understood that he is a Shaktavasha Avatar, part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, and specifically empowered by him. Any living being acting as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu is thus empowered by Lord Vishnu to preach the bhakti cult. Okay, now we can understand that Prabhupada is an empowered living entity, or Shaktavasha avatar. He was able to spread the Hare Krishna movement all over the world. That's a unique and exalted power. Such a person can act like Lord Vishnu and defeat demons by arguments and preach the bhakti cult exactly according to the principles of Shastra. That's, again, a definition of Srila Prabhupada's behavior. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita, whenever we find someone extraordinary, whenever we find someone extraordinarily preaching the bhakti cult, we should know that he is especially empowered by Lord Krishna or Lord Krishna. As confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Vila 7.11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pavartana. One cannot explain the glories of the holy name of the Lord without being specifically empowered by him. If one criticizes or finds fault with such an empowered personality, one is to be considered an offender against Lord Vishnu and is punishable, even though such offenders may dress as Vaishnavas and with false tilaka and mala. They are never forgiven by the Lord if they offend a pure Vaishnava. There are many instances of this in the Shastras. Okay, well, we're reading about one now. So we should never offend a genuine devotee of Krishna. It's very, very sinful. O protector of the people, in general, please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. The irreligious principles created by Indra are but mothers of so many unwanted religions. Please, therefore, stop these imitations immediately. Well, they're still going on, unfortunately. Kali Yuga. Purport: Lord Brahma addresses King Prithu as Prajapati, just to remind him of his great responsibility in maintaining the peace and prosperity of the citizens. Maharaj Prithu was empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead for this purpose only. It is the duty of the ideal king to see that people are properly executing religious principles. Lord Brahma especially requested King Prithu to conquer the pseudo-religious principles produced by King Indra. In other words, it is the duty of the state or king to stop to pseudo-religious systems produced. One second. It is the duty of the state or king to put a stop to pseudo-religious systems produced by unscrupulous persons. Originally, a religious principle is one given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it comes through the channel of the cyclic succession in two forms. Lord Brahma requested Prithu Maharaj to desist from his unnecessary competition with Indra, who was determined to stop Prithu Maharaja from competing 100 yagas. Instead of creating adverse reactions, it is better for Maharaj Prithu to stop the yagas in the interest of his original purpose as an incarnation. This purpose was to establish good government and set things in the right order. Okay. Well, even in World War II, after the Allies won the war, they didn't kill the leader of the king of the people that they defeated. They kept the king in his position, so that after the war, the general people would not be upset so much that they would continue fighting. That was a smart thing to do. That was a decision made by Eisenhower. So instead of arresting the king and then executing him, they kept him alive and in this position so that the common people, the Japanese common people, would not be constantly in a state of revolt. That was a smart thing to do. Why don't you look that up? At the end of World War II, the king of the Japanese people was not arrested and killed. What does it say?
So this is a classic example. Even in today's world also, like people are fighting and just for ego. So why should I take back foot, right? So that comes when the ego person has ego, right? When they're fighting between two people or conflicts or whatever, fighting means not literally physically, but yeah, conflicts and something. And then people, they lose the actual intelligence of the real purpose here exactly between, we can consider, take this example of Indra and Prithu, that I mean Prithu could have ego, why I should take back foot, why Indra cannot take this, right? Why Indra cannot stop, let me do it. So in general, our day-to-day life also, we end up having this kind of situations.
Well, it happens in a husband and wife relationship.
Yeah, husband and wife relationship. The end of the day, you're coming down.
At some point, that husband will say, "Okay, that's enough. I'm not going to argue anymore."
Yeah, we should be looking for the real intelligence, like what is our real purpose, and we should stop that.
Yeah, exactly. So what does it say
In the World War?
Yeah, so at the end of World War II, the emperor was actually not arrested, and in fact, US and the Allies decided to retain him as the emperor. However, the
What?
prime minister,
What? Read that again.
the emperor, what is it?
Hirohito.
Hirohito,
No.
is the Japan's symbolic leader, was not arrested, and the US and the Allies decided to retain him as emperor to help stabilize post-war Japan.
See, and that was a very smart thing to do. Otherwise, the Japanese might have continued fighting.
But they did arrest the prime minister.
They killed the prime minister.
Yeah, they in fact killed the executed prime minister.
Yeah. Hirohito or something. I forget what his name was.
His name is Hideki Tojo or something. Tahar,
Yeah,
General Hideki.
yeah, okay.
The emperor is Hirohito.
Yeah, so that was a smart decision to make, because if they killed the emperor of the Japanese, that would have caused a lot of bad blood, right? And the fighting might have continued. But when the king or the Japanese leader had said, "Okay, that's enough. We surrender," right? the the fighting stopped. If they killed him, they might have the Japanese may have continued fighting.
This is what happening now with US and China. Current very fresh example. They are in a tariff war. This is increasing, then that guy increasing, this guy increasing. So it's keep increasing up to 245% on tariffs on China.
Oh, the tariffs,
Tariffs, yeah.
tariff wars.
So they started with like 20%, 50%. Then he's increasing
You're talking about Elon, not Elon Musk, but you're talking about
Trump.
Trump.
So Trump and China. So they are actually doing
Actually,
tariff.
there's a saying, dump Trump. In other words, get rid of him. He's causing too much havoc.
Yeah. Nobody's stopping. I mean, the China is on this. They are keep doing against each other.
No, eventually you're going to stop. I mean, how high are you going to make the tariffs?
He made 245%, which is insane. 245% tariff on China.
It's you can't tolerate those things. It's going to completely destroy, the whole commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, how much can you increase the tariffs? Eventually, people won't be able to buy anything.
That's what's going to happen.
Very childish nonsense, all based on false ego.
I saw China also stopping buying the planes, everything, from Boeing and all. They have orders around 50, around more than 100 planes or something. They stopped everything right now. To China also saying that they don't want to import any goods from the US at all. Complete stop, they saying that. Because it's 245% is tariffs.
It means a lot of people are going to be left off. Anyway, there's big companies like the airplane people. When there's a downturn, they'll fire thousands of employees. They don't care. Then when there's more business happening, then they'll hire them again.
China also unemployment will increase because all small industries, they do that and then they export to the US.
They will become stopped.
They stop there.
It is also increasing. The local people started doing agitation. I mean, against the president, because they are losing their businesses now since they cannot export anything to
China.
Yeah, they can export anything to US now. So the local businesses, small businesses, all everything US does is from China.
Well, how are they gonna
They're
stop
protesting.
the normal people from revolting?
They're communist. They can use their powers, man.
No.
No, right now they're using social media, Maharaj, because they're saying that, man, why you are going with the brands of US and then European brands, because we'll directly manufacture and give it to you if you want to interest to do the business or something. But anyway, it's end of the day, it's exports and imports only.
You mean people are not buying things from the United States, but they're buying things from Europe?
No, they will sell because US buy a lot of things from China also, right? So all small items, decorative items, or everything comes from China. The US doesn't manufacture this lighting, these lights, all festival lights. These kind of examples. There's so many things we import from US, imports from China. Now with this tariff, they cannot able to export 245%. They cannot do anything.
So what's going to happen?
So they are blaming their president to like come to an agreement so that this will resolve. They are doing protests also their side in China also, and here also it is
Yeah.
going to happen in US because it will be causing inflation. Prices will go up. People slowly will try to protest against Trump. So both countries will be like in trouble.
So everyone should become Krishna conscious and chant. Be happy. Give up all this competition.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can look up. There's this video of what was the name of that? Oh yeah, in the time of Hitler, Hitler and Mussolini
Mm.
were being made fun of by what was his name?
Stalin.
No, they were made fun of by this famous actor, in which the actors, one of them looked like was dressed up and looked like Hitler, and the other one was dressed up and looked like Mussolini.
Mhm.
Charlie
And
Chaplin.
what's that?
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin, Maharaj.
Charlie Chaplin, yes. And they were sitting down on barber seats, right? And so they both tried to get higher than the other.
Mm.
They both would see how high the chairs could go. Which was, a real, like making fun of the world leaders to see who's greater, Hitler or this other one, right? Yeah, but that's all based on the same thing's happening with these tariffs.
Yeah.
Who can make more tariffs? Elon Musk, I'm not Elon Musk, but Trump or the Chinese, right?
Now it is an ego, man. Like Trump wants them. He's not going to make a call. Let China make us a call and see, like, we
Let's
want
stop
to
this.
stop this, and let's have a negotiation table.
Yeah.
It's kind of ego now.
They have
China
to-
said, "Oh, I'm not doing ego. We'll find out some other way." So both are in ego now.
Yeah. You can see how people are actually, it's false egos, because that just cause havoc. And who suffers? Not the leaders. It's the common people suffer.
Mhm.
Pretty soon, everything will be so expensive, people won't be able to buy anything because of all the tariffs. It's terrible. Okay, so text 39. The great sage Maitreya continued, when King Prithu was thus advised by the supreme teacher, Lord Brahma, he abandoned his eagerness to perform yagyas and with great affection concluded a peace with King Indra. Oh, well, I wish our leaders would do that. Right?
There should be a mediator like Burma. We need.
Yeah. Yes. After this, Prithu Maharaj took his bath, which is customarily taken after the performance of a yajna, and received the benedictions and due blessings of the demigods, who were very pleased by his glorious activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Yajna means Lord Vishnu. For all yajnas, all yajna is meant to please the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Since the demigods automatically become very pleased when with the performance of sacrifice, they bestow benediction upon the executors of yajnas. When one pours water on the root of a tree, the branches, trunk, twigs, flowers, and leaves are all satisfied. Similarly, when one gives food to the stomach, all parts of the body are rejuvenated. In the same way, if one simply satisfies Lord Vishnu by the performance of yajna, one satisfies all the demigods automatically. In turn, the demigods offer their benedictions to such a devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, does not ask benedictions directly from the demigods. His only business is to serve the Supreme Personality of God. Thus, he is never in need of those things supplied by the demigods. Well, that's what we learn in Krishna consciousness. If we please Krishna, then all the demigods are going to be pleased. We don't have to separately please every demigod. Why? Well, there's thousands of demigods, not just 5 or 10 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. There's thousands of them. So that's why it says here, if one simply satisfies Lord Vishnu by the performance of yajna, well, what is that performance? In Kali Yuga, the only yajna that can be performed correctly is Harinam Sankirtan, or chanting the holy names of the Lord. So if one simply satisfies Lord Vishnu by the performance of yajna, meaning Sankirtan yajna, one satisfies all the demigods automatically. In turn, the demigods offer their benedictions to such a devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, does not ask benedictions directly from the demigods. His only business is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he is never in need of those things supplied by the demigods. In other words, you don't have to worship the demigods to get rain or whatever. You simply worship Krishna. Text 41. With great respect, the original King Prithu offered all kinds of rewards to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all these brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. Text 42. All the great sages and brahmanas said, O mighty king, by your invitation, all classes of living entities have attended this assembly. They have come from Pitraloka and the heavenly planets, and the great sages, as well as common men, have attended this meeting. Now, all of them are very much satisfied by your dealings and your charity towards them. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. That is the end of this book. We have to get a new book.
Okay.
Yeah, the canto. Okay, are there any questions?
Second book.
So with great respect, the original King Prithu offered all kinds of rewards to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all these brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. Well, how do we please Krishna? Well, it's by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and always chanting Hare Krishna, eating only Krishna prasadam, associating with genuine devotees, and eating only prasadam, yes, and going out on Harinam Sankirtan. Then we will please everybody, including the demigods, because The only sacrifice that could be properly performed in this age of Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan. No other yagas will satisfy the demigods. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya started the Hare Krishna movement. And what did he do? He went out on Harinam Sankirtan. He never preached in public. He would only preach to his most intimate devotees. But he would perform massive Sankirtan and massive distribution of prasadam. That was his preaching in public. He didn't sit down and give lectures in public. He would only speak, philosophy to his intimate devotees. But for the massive people, he performed massive Sankirtan and massive prasadam distribution. That's what we should do. We should continue to have many, many festivals and distribute a lot of prasadam and chant and dance. Then people will gradually become purified by the chanting, dancing, and taking prasadam. Those are our astras, meaning weapons. Chanting, dancing, and taking prasadam. We don't need guns. We don't need gunpowder. We don't need bombs. We need more Hare Krishna Mahamantra and more festivals. Actually, every day is a festival in Krishna consciousness. Mm-hmm. All right, well, we've come to the end of this canto. So we're going to start in a new canto.
Part 2. New part.
Oh, part 2. Okay. Any questions, comments?
I have one question.
Yes.
So as you have explained, to please Krishna, we have to do this Nasi Prasadam distribution and chanting, dancing.
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with one high schooler kid.
Yeah.
And I had said that we can please Krishna by doing our prescribed duties like going to school, studying, all basic things. So kid was asking like, how do I know that Krishna is pleased by doing these activities?
Mm-hmm.
So how to
Good question.
Explain this, like how we know Krishna is getting pleased by all these activities, but the question was, if I'm going to school, doing study, living honestly, so how do I know if Krishna is really pleased or so how to answer?
There's no way you can know unless you have a bona fide guru. If the guru is pleased by your behavior, then you know Krishna is pleased.
Okay.
All right. And that's a hard decision for young boys or girls to make, accepting a guru. But if you accept a bona fide guru, then you will know whether you're doing things right or wrong. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes, go ahead.
One more question. Maharaj, Indra and Prithvi Maharaj, actually Indra knows Prithvi Maharaj is the expansion of, or from the, what we call Narayana expansion. Then why is having so much disturbance if completes 100 yagna? It will have an impact to him. He is actually doing favor to, or maybe he is pleasing the Narayana, right? In this, because why the competition with the Narayana itself,
It's called false ego. Why is Trump increasing the tariffs? False ego. why are different countries going to war? All because of false ego. See, the common people, they don't want war. When there's war, it's the common people that suffer. The only one that wins are the leaders. They either win or lose. But the common people, they always lose when there's war. They're the ones that have to fight. They're the ones that have to die, and so forth. And amongst the leaders, well, one set of leaders will win and the other set of leaders will lose. But in the common people, on both sides, they suffer and they die, in war. So, one example is one time in Christmas Eve, the two armies were, in trench warfare. And in Christmas Eve, both sides were Christians. And one man from one side approached the other side, the enemy side, and lit a candle and said, "Look, it's Christmas Eve. Let's not fight. Let's celebrate Christmas Eve." And these were not like the captains. These were just the soldiers. And then the soldiers came together and celebrated Christmas, even though they were enemies, right? And when the captains and their leaders found out, they freaked out because they stopped fighting and came together and they celebrated Christmas. They came out of the trenches and celebrated Christmas. So it freaked out the captains and the generals and everything. But see, they were both sides were Christians. So, and it was Christmas Eve, and they were living in trenches. So they started giving each other food, sharing food, and so forth, and they celebrated Christmas. And when the generals found out, they got really upset. Get back into the trenches. Get your gun. Start shooting again. You see, the generals are really demons. Okay, well, I think we'll stop there. We have to get a new book, a new canto. Thank you very much. Unless there are some questions that you'd like to ask or comments. Well, here's a good thing to end with. It says, with great respect, the original king Prithu, offered all kinds of rewards to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all these brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. Well, this should be the ideal way of living in harmony. So if we please sadhus and brahmanas, and if the sadhus and brahmanas are genuine devotees, and we please them, then there would be heartfelt blessings. As long as the brahmanas are satisfied, they give their heartfelt blessings to the people, and especially here to the king. So we should learn how to always please genuine devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.